Good afternoon. I'm Huey Poplock, and this is the Central Florida Computer Society and the Sarasota Technology User Group's Windows Special Interest Group, or WinSIG, for Sunday, December 11th, 2022. And as I said, I'm Huey Poplock. I'm in Bradenton, Florida. You're all from all over the country and Canada. So welcome. We're glad you're here. Open up my Edge browser, make it full screen. And if you'll notice at the top are all of my discussion points for today. And how I got them is I go to my Huey.net, and I don't see it in my there. So we'll just type in Huey.net. And then I go to the WinSIG, and right at the top are the items for today. Now, I was going to add a couple of more because I wasn't sure whether I would make this would be long enough for today. And I got as many additional ones that I had captured since the first part of the week when I put this list together. And so I'm going to save them till January. If we need the time, then I can go to that list today, but I don't think we're going to have time to do that. So these are the items we're going to cover. I've got them all loaded at the top so we can take a look at them. I'm in Microsoft Edge, so when we go to the first one to find your Windows 11 PC uptime, you get the article, and then I will go to the immersive reader. And so we can make it big enough for you to be able to see, and it takes all the ads out. And this is how to find your Windows 11 PC uptime. If you never reboot or shut down your computer, you might want to know its uptime. Here's how to find it. One of the bits of information you need for troubleshooting or general interest is your computer uptime. If you have a computer that you rarely reboot, knowing how long it's been up and running can be helpful. So how do you do it? Well, the best way to do it is to, as it says, go to the Task Manager. There's a lot of ways you can get to Task Manager. And the way we're going to do it right now is, because we're going to cover this in a little while, is we click here and then just click on Task Manager. You can also use Control-Shift-Escape as a shortcut. It takes it to it, and then what we want to do is we want to go to, let me come back here for a moment. And what we want to do is we want to, Task Manager, you want to go to the Performance tab on the left column. Well, the problem with that is Task Manager has changed. So let's see, here it is. No, it's on the left side. It's there. So you want to go to the Performance. There it goes. And if you look down here, it says I've been up. Let's see, let's go backwards so we can figure this out. There's seconds, there's minutes, those are hours, and those are days. So I rebooted 3 days ago, 10 hours, and 12 minutes ago. So I don't normally reboot over a time period. I didn't reboot at the beginning of the show like I usually do at the beginning of a show, because I wanted to show you that you can have several days. You can, if you have it up longer than that, you may have weeks at a time. When I do any of these Zoom meetings, usually I like to reboot sometime that morning, so it clears out anything that might be a problem. But you can see how long your computer has been up by going to the Task Manager in Windows. So let's go to the next article. How to turn off OneDrive on Windows. I have a lot of people, even on this program, on the WinSIG, that ask, they don't want to have OneDrive. They don't want to use it. Some people want to, and they don't know how to. This doesn't tell you how to use it. This tells you how to turn it off. So let's take a look at what you do. we want to go to the immersive reader, make it bigger. And to stop syncing with OneDrive, click the app icon in the system tray and click the gear icon and then use pause syncing and a time frame. You can also quit OneDrive, preventing it from opening at startup or even uninstall it. So let's see if we can, let's see here. And then we're going to have OneDrive. I got to remember which icon it is. And if it's even in here, should be. I don't remember which icon it is. Actually, it's right here. So if I right mouse click that, I can pause syncing, or I can quit OneDrive. And how should you turn off OneDrive in Windows to prevent OneDrive from getting in your way? There's different ways. First way is to turn off the OneDrive file sync. This is the perfect method if you want to keep the app on your PC, but don't want your future files synced with it. Later, you can resume file sync and sync all the changes with your cloud account. The second way is to quit the OneDrive app. Doing so removes the app from your system tray as well as disables the file sync. You may also want to prevent the app from automatically launching during startup, so your files don't accidentally start syncing. And lastly, if you don't plan to use OneDrive anymore, you can uninstall the app. Now, I use OneDrive. I use it a lot. I sync certain folders. You can turn on and off which drives or which folders you want to sync, which ones you don't. How to stop OneDrive from syncing files. It does tell you how to do that. And then how to quit OneDrive. So this is a good article. If that's something you're interested in doing, you can do it. I don't want to show you how to do it because I use OneDrive. And then it also tells you how you can uninstall it. So it's a good article if OneDrive is in your way and you want to do something about it. There's a way to turn it off. Now, if you want to turn it on, a lot of times you just do the opposite, but then you want to find an article. And I don't remember if in my list today, I have a file, or maybe I found it afterwards in the list for next month. Oh, it's not there anymore. I don't know if it's in next month's, but I found a whole article on syncing files on OneDrive. I'll have to check that. Okay, the next article, let's see, we'll close the other one. And how to permanently add a volume slider shortcut in Windows 11. Again, let's go ahead and use the immersive reader. How to permanently add a volume slider shortcut in Windows 11. Save some clicks and create a volume slider shortcut in Windows 11. Readers like you, this is from Make, let's see, I'm sorry?
Make use of.
Yeah, make use of. Thank you. Had a senior moment there. When you make a purchase using links on their site, they might get a commission from it. Tired of right-clicking to get the volume mixer? Here's how to create a permanent shortcut. How to create a shortcut more easily, access the volume slider and mixer, and reduce 2 clicks to 1 click when accessing the slider. So right now, I'm in Windows 11. So it places an icon to access the volume slider in the quick icons tray, which is down here in the right. So when I click on the quick icons, whoops, I hit settings, but let's go ahead and just down here. Nope, that's the keyboard. I'm not hitting it just right. Come on, Huey. There we go. Nope. Oh.
Huey, the bottom of your screen is not showing to us.
Okay. Anyway, there's a little microphone or a speaker with 3 little lines down in the corner. You can see this, though, correct? When you click the correct thing, you'll see it'll be an icon that looks like this, but you can change the system volume, like my headset. You can do it right from here, but it takes a couple of clicks. Now, what they're saying is you can add a shortcut to it, and this is how you do it. Down at the bottom where the search is, I don't think in Windows 11 I can move that to the side like you could earlier. So you go to the little search box in Windows 11 and you type in SND for sound and then VOL for volume, and you will get a run command. Well, if you right mouse click that and open file location, it's down at the bottom. I'll move it up a little bit. Where'd it go now? Didn't go up. There it is. I'll move it up here. If I right mouse click that, and then you can pin it to the start, but that's not what we want to do. So what we want to do is show more options. When you do, you get the larger list, and one of those is to pin to taskbar. When I do that, it pins it on my taskbar, and if I just click it once, that's left clicking, it opens up my sound bar, and I can change the volume here, and I can also, there are some settings there. So just by having the one button, it's a one touch button in the taskbar, I can then have a volume slider in my taskbar. There's other volume slider tips. Did you know that you can easily view different sound devices and which programs are playing them through your volume mixer? With more than one sound device connected, you can click on the name of your current sound device to see others. In newer versions of Windows 11, this volume mixer is becoming harder to access. We have a guide on restoring the old volume mixer in Windows 11, so you can click on this. It's a link, and it'll open up a guide to do that if you want to retain the handy feature as well. And despite being a relatively simple feature, the volume slider will see a lot of use. Having it easily accessible can be crucial for some users, especially for those who want to adjust audio quickly and easily. While you're ultimately reducing 2 clicks to 1, those clicks can add up over time. Instead, just pin the volume mixer to your taskbar, and not only will you save clicks, but it'll also sometimes be more responsive than the standard user interface. So that's a handy item there. I'm going to close that, and I'm going to stop the share and see if we got some questions or comments. I see in the chat, Drew says, for any version of Windows, open the command prompt and type in Net Statistics Workstation, and the date and time the system was restarted will be shown. So let's go ahead and open the command prompt, and you do that. Let me go back to sharing my screen. And in the search box, just type in the word run. And I'll move this up. And he says to type in net statistics.
You want to do it in a DOS box so it doesn't disappear on you.
Okay. So what are you suggesting I do, Drew?
Oh, just when you click on search, type in CMD for command. Open up
Okay.
a DOS box and then just execute the command.
There we go. Okay. That's statistics workstation. Gives me all kinds of information, but I don't see.
The very top, it says statistics since
Oh,
12/8.
yeah, up here. Yep. Okay. Yep. It's up here. 3 days, 24 hours. No, that's not it. I got to move it over a little bit.
That's the actual date and time.
Yep. Oh, that's the time it started. Okay. On the 8th. Okay. And today's the 11th. So that would be right. 3 days. Okay. So there's a different way to do it as well. Thank you. Okay. And let's see. Let's again stop the share. Drew, you always come through with a different way of approaching things. That's the nice thing about these meetings, as well as the fact that Windows has so many different ways to do things that it's nice to have different ways and know different ways to approach them. Any other comments, questions? How many, just if those people have their pictures showing, how many actually use OneDrive? Quite a few of you. Okay, good. All right. And let's see, where did I put that list for next week? I don't have it handy. Okay, anyway, I know I found a different it's from, I think it was either from Make Use Of or one of those that they have a pretty good description on how to use OneDrive. And if I don't find it, I'll make sure we do it next month. Mike, you're muted.
Sorry, I don't know how my hand was raised. I've been looking for how to do that. And I don't know where on the menus you do that. And I didn't intentionally do it this time.
It's on reactions, and I think Mike Ungerman may have put it down. Yeah. Well, we can control, but it's under reactions, and then at the bottom it'll say raise hand.
Thank you.
And then you click it again, and it puts it down, or I think I say lower hand. Okay.
Ed Weiss in chat says there's another volume control called Ear Trumpet.
Okay, and that must be from a third party. I don't believe it's part of Windows, but
either that or he's cracking a joke. Like louder.
Oh, yeah. Okay, my sense of humor isn't turned on today. But yeah, or hearing aids too. Okay, let's go back to sharing our screen. And how to access the power user menu in Windows 11. I alluded to this earlier. Let's go to the immersive reader so we can see it. Do you need quick access to Windows system apps? You can use the power user menu. This guide explains how to access it in Windows 11. When you upgrade to Windows 11 or get a new PC with it pre-installed, you'll notice the interface is more polished than in previous versions. However, it may be hard to find things you often utilize in Windows 11. Okay, for example, opening Task Manager is a different process than previous versions of Windows. It no longer allows you to open it by clicking the taskbar. Let's see, if I click mine, it just says taskbar settings. They were supposed to add the task manager in the taskbar by right clicking, but it hasn't happened yet. So also the start menu is centered on the taskbar. Luckily, you can move the start button back to the left. Yeah, okay. Anyway, when you, no matter where you leave it, if you right mouse click the power user menu, and that's the power user, if you right mouse click the start button, which is the button that's shown here because you can't see mine, when you do that, it gives you this menu. So let me right mouse click my start button. And when I do that, you see it's the same list that they're showing you here. And these are all power user items. So those of you who aren't power users, you don't need to even know this and you don't have to use it, but you can find File Explorer, your search, your run, and your task manager is there, the device manager. You've got power options, installed apps. You can find them all by just right mouse clicking your start button and then go from there. And that's pretty much that article.
Can you do the same with Windows X? If you hold
Yes.
the Windows key down and then press X, you should get the same
Same
menu.
thing. Same thing.
Thanks, Bob. Because I don't have a Windows 10 machine. I couldn't test it.
Works on 11, same thing.
Okay, thanks. By the way, your voice sounds good today.
Give it a
But you're not-
chance.
Yeah, you're not talking much. Okay. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this article because for a lot of you, it's a TMI. It's too much information. You get yourself into trouble. So 3 ways to reset a forgotten Windows administrator password. For those of you who help others, this might be a good article to put in your list of things to remember. If you use a program like Evernote or Notes, make a copy of it, put it in there, or somehow save this article to know how to do this, how to reset the Windows administrator pass with a Microsoft account, how to reset a local Windows admin password using the lock screen workaround, or setting up the password reset workaround. So this article tells you how to do those, and then running a command prompt to change your password, to change it. So you got to know what it is if you're going to change it. And then putting sticky keys back to normal. So, and then reset the password by booting into a Linux USB, and then create a drive and boot into Linux, and then mount your Windows drive and reset your Windows password from Linux. So again, this is overkill for most of you, and you shouldn't be screwing around with this. But for some of you who help others, it might you might want to keep the article. And then how to avoid losing your Windows password in the future. While none of these password recovery methods are terribly difficult, they are inconvenient. If you don't want to lose your password again in the future and have to rely on them, there are several ways to prevent yourself from having to reset your Windows password down the road. First, if you don't already use a Microsoft account to sign in to Windows 10 or 11, they recommend doing so. This way you can easily reset your password via the web interface if you ever forget it. Even if you don't use a Microsoft account, setting a PIN to your Windows account gives you another option for signing in that's easier to remember. I use a PIN on my desktop and have for quite a long time. It just makes it quicker and easier. We also recommend using a password manager to store all your passwords safely. So make sure your Microsoft account password is in your password manager. And I would suggest for those of you who use your browser to as a password manager, you need to have an external password manager to keep things like your system password, because you can't get into your system to look at your browser to be able to get that password from the browser. So make sure you've got it somewhere that you can access it if you can't get into your computer. Finally, Windows also lets you create a password reset disk to avoid these lengthy workaround methods in the future. Connect a flash disk drive, then search for password reset disk in the start menu to launch the Create a Password Reset Disk tool. So we're going to look for password reset disk. And we'll do that. Let's see, we want us in the start menu. So we'll go to start menu and we'll say password. It said restart, right?
I believe that if you've set your Windows up with your account, the option to create a password reset disk is not there. You actually have
Okay.
had to set it up as a local account, and then that password reset disk option will show up.
Okay.
I tried it once and couldn't find it myself, just as you're having a little bit of problem finding it.
Yeah. Let me try one more time here by having the right phrase. Create a password reset disk. There it is. We click it. Let's see what it does. Nothing. Let's see if anything here.
As it says on top, Huey, if you don't already use a Microsoft account.
There
Yep.
it
So
is.
Mike,
Yep.
so
You
what
do,
Mike
so
said
therefore
was,
this is passé for
Yep.
you.
yep. So what Mike said was correct.
Correct.
So, and then forgotten administrator password in Windows, no problem. Anyone can use these methods, but at least it is possible to do it. And then also make sure with Microsoft, there are some ways to get your password, but you have to have registered a phone number and an email address that you can get to, and they will send you, I can't remember whether they send you a link to change the password or they let you sign in and then you can change it. So make sure that you give Microsoft the information so they can follow up. I think they even will call you by phone and verify that it's you before they'll let you in. Okay, the next article, thinking about taking your computer to the repair shop. I'm not going to cover this article today because I think Ron Brown is going to cover it tomorrow in Tech for Seniors. If not, he's going to do it in an upcoming program, but I'm quite sure he's mentioned to me that this is what he wants to cover for tomorrow.
On the
So
list.
it is on the list.
Yep.
Okay, good. So now if you're interested in this, best thing to do is come to Tech for Seniors tomorrow.
Cliffhanger is always nice.
Yep.
Don't
E-waste,
forget, Huey, it's Tech for Senior, no S.
well, it depends on where you're writing it or if you're talking about it. If you're talking about it, doesn't matter. Yeah, if you're going to the website, there's no S at the end. This is an interesting article. I did have some things about it that I don't think they explain properly, but e-waste management, or what you can and can't dispose of for electronic waste. The rise of smartphones, tablets, home theater systems, and all other electronic devices has changed the world. We're now more connected, and it's a lot easier to do things, whether personal or business related. However, an increase in electronics only means one thing: increased e-waste. The world now generates about 50 million tons annually. So what can you do about it? Well, join the e-waste management efforts. And here's what it says you can dispose of. What electronic items can you throw away? And it says TVs, home theaters, other audio systems, laptops, computers, smartphones, monitors, electronic keyboards, accessories, and cable receivers. And this, I dispute this. Most areas have, even though it goes to the same place, they have an area set aside to put these items. You don't put it in your regular garbage. So please don't just put it in your trash can. Do put it somewhere where you can separate it out as electronic waste. Most electronics are disposable because they largely feature harmless substances. But again, computers have a lot of things on that motherboard that aren't harmless and need to be removed. And there's a lot of reclamation companies out there that will take a motherboard and take the parts off of it that can be reclaimed or can be reused. So, but what can't you dispose of? E-waste containing lithium, such as batteries. Regular home appliances that contain Freon, such as refrigerators, dehumidifiers, and air conditioners. Exposure to large amounts of Freon can lead to serious health issues like cardiac diseases. Unsterilized medical equipment, as it may lead to infections, and microwave ovens, because they hold an electric charge longer and can lead to potentially lethal shocks during recycling. Now, where do you dispose of e-waste? Well, landfills is one place. Landfills are the most common option. I know in my area, when I take my e-waste to the landfill, there's a building you drive into, a huge building, and they have different areas set aside. And one of them is where you put your e-waste, and they actually have an area for hard drives. They have another area for monitors. They have another area for systems. They have another area for printers, and it's all within the e-waste area. And then there's other things scattered in the same huge building. So these things are regulated and are complete with the infrastructure and the employees to oversee the sorting and proper waste management. They first sort the trash and remove recyclables waste like paper and paper bottles from the waste. In the case of e-waste, they'll identify the reusable pieces from the bunch and then send the damaged pieces to the landfill along with other unrecyclable waste. The biodegradable or reusable e-waste is then sent to a recycling center. And then the e-waste recycling centers will do magnetic separation, water separation, and purification. And an essential steps to take before disposing of your e-waste, try upgrading or reusing before tossing in the e-waste trash. You can quick fix and continue using these common devices. Format all damaged but functional pieces to remove your personal information, if possible. However, if you got a hard drive that died, you want to make sure that it goes somewhere where it gets destroyed before anybody can try to revive it. Take it apart and take. I'm sorry, say that again.
Just use your drill and put a couple of holes in the drive.
Yeah, that's one way. And there are places where you can dispose hard drives where they actually put them in something like a shredder that you do for paper. They have one that will do metal and all kinds of big devices. So you want to make sure it gets into one of those without someone trying to get data off of them. If disposing of completely damaged CPU, remove and erase the hard drive. Take out the batteries, as most e-waste handlers will decline e-waste containing them. So if you throw away your laptop, they may want you to take the battery out, or they'll send it somewhere, or they'll do it themselves, take the batteries out and put them one place, and then the rest of the computer will go somewhere else.
Mute something.
Hello?
That's okay. I got a mute.
Okay. Recycle laptop batteries. Most laptops feature lithium-ion batteries, which get a straight no from e-waste handlers. Instead of trying to sneak them in during your next trip to an e-waste center, turn them into a high-capacity power source for your do-it-yourself soldering stations or even lighting during your off-grid adventures, as explained, and they have a link to instructable guides. You'll need to fuse several laptop batteries to achieve your desired capacity, or find a place that does take used lithium-ion batteries. I know Best Buy takes some things. They take the printers and so on. I'm not sure if they take batteries. If not, Batteries Plus is a store that's near me, and I know that's a major chain. I believe they'll take any batteries that you want to get rid of as well, and then you can just drop them off to them, and they dispose of them in the legal way. Salvage parts from old printers. Your old printers might be slow and almost dysfunctional, but it's a gold mine for free electronic parts that you can reuse in other projects. But again, some of you aren't so disposed, but so you want to get them somewhere where someone who can take them apart will do so. So I would do that as well, and repurpose broken power banks. Power banks make life easier, also wear out fast. If you own a smartphone, you've probably gone through a couple of them. Instead of dumping them and adding to our already massive e-waste problem, check out a guide for repurposing them. Okay. Turn an old TV into an 80s themed clock. I've seen people turn them into a fish tank. There's all kinds of things you can do with old TVs. Turn an old display panel into a sleek monitor, but do your part today. Don't be a part of the problem. See if you can find a way to help alleviate the problem of e-waste. And on that note, let's see if we got anything here. I know if Stan was here, there's a couple of people in the Orlando area that do take e-waste. You don't get anything for it, but a lot of times they separate out the electronics, and they send some stuff to certain places and then other things to other places where people utilize the various parts and so on. So don't just throw it in somebody else's trash or in your own trash, hoping that it just will disappear. You want to make sure that you're responsible in that. Tom Hirsch, you have your hand up.
Hi, Huey. Yeah, thanks for that helpful information. I'm a resident of Seminole County, and as a resident of Seminole County, I can take e-waste to the transfer station in Longwood. It's on I think it's State Road 49 or County Road 419, just about a block east of 1792. And that if you're a resident, a homeowner, or renter, you can take stuff there for free. They will accept cathode ray tube old style TVs. Those are the ones with the glass, the heavy picture tubes. They'll take any kind of batteries and any kind of electronics scrap. There is a place, and there is a place that will actually pay you to recycle scrap electronics, and that place is called Scrap Metal Trading Company. It's on Forsyth Road. On the east side of the street, about a quarter mile south of University Boulevard. And so they will actually pay you money. It's not much. I think it's maybe 4 or 5 cents a pound, depending upon what it is. And then a place that Stan Wallner has posted for CFCS members. There's a place called Orlando Recycles. It used to be in Forsyth Commerce Center, but it has moved, and it's very near the Scrap Metal Trading Company. It's on a street that goes west from Forsyth Road. It's south of University Boulevard, but north of Hanging Moss Road.
Yeah, thanks. The one on 419 I used to go to because I lived not too far from there before I moved over to Bradenton. And then I've been to the one here in Bradenton as well. So here in Florida, a lot of the areas are quite responsible, and they do have an area where you can take your e-waste. The best thing to do is put in your city or county and then put e-waste in Google, and it should tell you what they suggest to do in your area for those of you who are outside of the Orlando area, as some of you who are on this Zoom meeting are. Let's see, there's a couple of things in the chat. Chris says, even though a hard drive won't boot up, it can often be converted into an external hard drive by installing it into an enclosure. I recycle, and he also added, I recycle empty ink cartridges at either Office Depot or Staples. And then Ann says Batteries Plus in Colorado Springs charges for disposal of any batteries. Oh, that's interesting, because the one here does not. They'll they want you to come in the store and drive some business to them. Okay, any other comments, questions? Good. Okay. Let's go back to the articles and close that one. Okay, we're going to tax your memory a little bit. How about BBSs? Do you remember them? I know Mike was the one of the system operators or sysops of the CFCS bulletin board. I had a bulletin board. My business partner, when I was in the computer business, had a bulletin board. In fact, we had both of them in a room with a third bulletin board system, and we had a satellite dish on the building, and we downloaded shareware from FidoNet every day, and we had a huge collection of shareware available, plus messaging and so on. But this article is somebody from How to Greek, and what he's talking about. We want to go to the immersive reader. Oh, I was in it. Okay, sorry about that. And so what is a BBS? BBS stands for Bulletin Board System, and it's a computer-based electronic community on which its members can read and write messages, play text-based games, and download files. They originated in 1978 in Chicago, and their popularity peaked around 1995, just as the internet began to go mainstream. What the internet was what we all wanted BBSs to end up being. And in the pre-internet era, most BBSs were run by hobbyists on personal computers with modems connected to a dial-up telephone line. Usually only one person could call and use the BBS at a time, although some multi-line BBSs existed. I had 4 telephone lines in my apartment, and so and then I had rollover, so if one was busy, it would go to the next one. And I ran bulletin boards, and I'm going to show you a list of bulletin boards from the Orlando area over the years. But today, most dial-up phone lines are scarce, and we have the internet. Most BBSs utilize Telnet protocol for connections, although some dial-up BBSs actually still exist. In the US, there were once tens of thousands of active BBSs. After the internet became common, though, most went offline, but some transitioned into the web. Today, the number of BBSs is rising due to the growing nostalgia for the past. The Telnet BBS guide lists almost 800 currently active BBSs. So those of you who like to go back in time, there's over 800 BBSs out there now, which is more than double the amount in around 2016. Now, why use a BBS today? Well, sure, you can jump on Twitter, Facebook, or Reddit, to find a community. But if you want a blast from the past, you should try a BBS. Below are some reasons why people still use them. Let's see. I got to sneeze. I'm going to.
I just make a
I did-
comment while you're clearing your sinuses.
Okay.
The social media platform at Discord, which is favored by gamers, but in use by many more than others, can be structured so that it looks exactly like a BBS with an entry menu and then various different subject matter categories and forums, the ability to upload files, download files, have reference documents, and so on. And at one time, when CFCS was hunting around for other alternatives for our website, I mentioned that Discord could take the place, and we set one up, which actually still exists today, just nobody goes to it. Dick Vogel and I played with it a little bit, and it's there, but people kind of prefer going to social media platforms instead.
Yeah, so nostalgia is one of the reasons people go to are using BBSs today. There are no concrete numbers, but hundreds of thousands of people might have used BBSs in the 80s and 90s. Today, many people are recalling their early online experiences fondly and perhaps sharing them with their children. Many would like to relive those times, so they head to a modern BBS. Some hobbyists even use vintage computer systems with a special serial to internet adapter to call a BBS. There's a one-of-a-kind gaming experiences, unique cultural groups, how to call a BBS, and they explain how to do it. Some of you wouldn't be interested in. Almost every BBS requires you to log in with an account before you can use the system. On the Cave, you can create one for free. Simply type in new in the login prompt and then press enter. You'll be asked for a series of questions to create your account. I can remember the BBS that I ran. We wanted to make sure you were old enough and that you were a real person. And one of the fellows who was a member of CFCS and was also a system operator of a bulletin board wrote a very simple basic program that you typed in your social security number and it would tell you, it would tell us what state you were born in. They've since changed the way they use social security numbers, but there was a time we could do that. So we would ask, what state were you born in? And then what's your social security number? We'd run that program and make sure that they matched. So that was one way in which we figured out who you were, and that you were an actual person that wasn't lying to us on who you were. To type a command, it tells you how to do it, and then some common BBS commands. And I won't go into all of this. Other popular BBSs to visit, and there's some here. So this is an article if you want to go back to that. But what I do want to show you is this is a list of the 407 area code BBSs throughout history, the 80s version of it. And these are all of the 407 area code, which was the only area code for the Orlando area and a wider area of Central Florida. So you'll see that there's some here. And as I go down the list, and you'll see that there's a lot of them, there's one called the Fabulous BBS, and that was run by Huey Poplock. This number was run from 1989 to 92. We will find farther down on another instance that where I had because that phone number was only in existence for a certain amount of time. And then I used I had another number that was used for many more years. And there was several people in here that were either friends of CFCS or were members of CFCS. Jim Eager was a member of the MAC group. Bobby Rubano was a young kid that was a member of CFCS. Mike Mayer, I was familiar with. Let's see, who else is here? Bob French was a member of CFCS. I'm just looking down this list. You may see some that those of you in the Orlando area or in Florida may see some that you recognize. Jim Howard, I believe, is a member of CFCS. Bill Beebe. Let's see as I go down the list. Jim Daly was my business partner. He had the Treasures BBS from 1986 to 1996. And there's the fabulous BBS. And that was also from 86 to 96. I had it for over 10 years in the area. And then in 1995, I got my website. And what I did to set up my website is I took a lot of connections that I had in my shortcuts to different websites. I made that into my website, which was a function of the fabulous BBS. And then it got to the point where fewer and fewer people were going to the BBS and they were going to my website. So I disbanded the website around 1996. There are other ones here that you may recognize. I'm just trying to see if Kent Cady, some of you may have known. He's a member of CFCS. Matt Drury kept a list of the 407 BBSs, a list of BBS list keepers, and I still was in contact with him through Facebook up till recently. I don't know if I'm still a friend of his or not. I don't remember seeing his name. But if I go back to the top of this list, now those were all BBSs just in the 407 area code. But what I want to go to is here. And then let's see, to get to it, I went to introduction and then to the bottom of that, I think, return to the main page, took me somewhere else. And I bought a set of DVDs several years ago called BBS the Documentary. So when I click it, it says the BBS documentary is sold out. You can't buy it anymore. But you can see it for free. And if I click that, there is a place where you can actually download it. They are quite large. They're DVD size. So they are very large files, but you can also find it on YouTube and watch them on YouTube. And it goes into a lot of interviews with people who ran some of the bigger BBSs, some of the people who created some of the BBS software, and so on. So for some of you who are interested in that part of computer history, there's a lot out there that can bring you up to date and remind you. And you have to remember, and I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing at this point. So maybe we might want to discuss this a little bit. But you got to remember that anyone who's 21, 22 years old, they were born in the year 2000 or later. And those of us who are kind of gray-haired or balding, we think of 2000 as just that's a recent past. When we start talking about the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, we're talking about, when we were younger. But, the kids weren't around then, and neither were their parents for a lot. Steve Hall, you have your hand up.
Oh, boy, you bring back memories. Those were the days. You remember, of course, it was all through phone lines. And
absolutely,
we would dial up the telephone, and the modem was like a cradle. So after you dial your phone, you'd put the phone in the cradle, and I think it was 300 baud, I believe. And so it was incredibly slow. I mean, we're all spoiled these days with the fast communication, tremendous amount of memory. But, we all learned computers. And then the different groups were kind of specialized. Like I was a member of an Atari group. Others were Tandy, I think, Radio Shack and Commodore, and so specialized. Those were really before the IBM PC even came out. But thank you for bringing back those great memories, for sure.
JJ. JJ, you have your hand up? You're clicking.
My microphone is off.
Okay, it's on now.
Okay. Anyhow, my group started out as an Atari group in '83, and from '85 to '92, I ran a BBS. In fact, 3 of us within the group ran BBSs. And here again, back in the 300 days, and we went to 1200 baud. A few guys went to 3200 baud and worked our way up. But yes, it was fun. I started out with 1 line, then I went to 2 lines, running first of all this on the weekends, and then I went to 7 days a week.
Yep, and I remember going to the APCUG conferences that were in conjunction with Comdex, and some of the sponsors were Hayes. I can't remember his first name.
PC board was the
Yeah,
software
PC.
that was one.
I think Mike, you might have been there the year that we went to a BBS meeting, and the guys from PC board and Wildcat and several other bulletin board companies were there as well. We got to meet all of the people who wrote the BBS software and meet other sysops from all over the world. That was a lot of fun. And I do remember
Charles Burge and I both were like co-sysops of CFCS's BBS.
and that was a PC board BBSs. And that's what Jim Daly and I both ran, were PC board. That was the brand of software that we ran. And then I can remember also when we went to Comdex in Atlanta one year, which is where Hayes Microcomputer was, that Hayes actually sponsored a party for us. And then we all went to his factory and watched where they built the Hayes modems. And Hayes wrote the software that most modem companies used, including the US Robotics. And then we also we were a dealer. Jim Daly and I were a dealer for US Robotics for several years. And but my first modem was a 300 baud modem in my Osborne. And you could see every letter printed on across the board. It was like somebody was sitting there typing and you were watching them type, and they weren't fast typists.
Yeah, and if you connected out of your area, you paid long distance charges as well.
Yeah, and then there was a service that if you paid the service, you were able to connect to bulletin boards all over the country, just for paying for that service. I can't remember what that was called, but I used that. So there were several national BBSs that I used to connect to back in the late 80s and early 90s through this system. So I didn't have to pay the long distance charges. You had a local number that you called, and then that would connect you through their system and then connect to bulletin boards all over the country and all over the world.
Yeah, I believe if I dig around in my basement, I can probably find a couple of old Hayes modems.
Yeah. Hayes, he was a great guy too.
Yes.
And I was just reading an article that someone wrote on Facebook that worked for Hayes for several years. I'm trying to think of his name. Charles. Oh, I can't think of his name. He's based in Tampa now, or was. But I've known him for years. And he worked for Hayes, and then he also worked for Microsoft for many years. So yeah, a lot of memories. So I thought you get a kick out of that when I saw that article. But if you haven't seen the BBS documentary, well worth the time to invest to kind of bring back some more memories. Okay, let's see. Let's see. I'm not connected, so let's go ahead and how are we doing time? We're getting there. Share the screen. And I'm just trying to see if there was something else in here. You might want to again say, let's go back one screen. So Director of LAMP, what is a BBS and document? So there's some other thing, photo album and interview list. So it shows some of the people I interviewed, and some of them I was familiar with, and a few and several I met as well over the years. Okay, so we got that. And then the next article that I added to my list was a history of the internet. We're going to talk about before internet. Let's talk about the history of the internet. I'm not going to go through this. I thought you might get a kick out of reading it. It's broken down into 61 to 80, 81 to 90, 91 to 2000, 2001 to 2010, and then 2011 through 2022. And there's timelines, and it's an interesting read, an interesting article to bring back some memories. And when you talk to your kids or grandkids, to throw interesting facts at them that they never realized about the history of this. That we go back before there was anything called the internet. And I can remember we held classes on what is the internet. And people would come to it and still walk out confused because it was something brand new for our generation. Okay, so let's go on to the next article, which is the 25 best tech gifts under $100 for 2022. Now, this is the articles from How to Geek, their thoughts on it, but you might see some things here that are interesting. They talk about How to Geek, and let's see if no, I got to go back to the website because they don't show the pictures this way. So we'll turn off the immersive reader and go back to the article. Let me make it bigger and look at some of the things that they talk about. The Jetsons kitchen awaits. I don't want to play the video, but this is a mixer that I believe you charge it. It may have batteries in it. I don't remember. Replaceable batteries or rechargeable. I'm not sure, but it's got three little things that go inside of a bowl, and you turn it on and it works like a mixer, and it just keeps turning around and mixing whatever's in that bowl. And it does it automatically. So here's what it is. It's utensil stir time, automatic pan stir, runs about $40. And you can see it's got little things at the bottom, and it mixes up whatever's in the bowl that you're mixing or in the pan. Here is a meter plus smart meat thermometer. So this, now you can check on your brisket remotely while bragging to your neighbor about checking on your brisket remotely. Now, I do have an electronic thermometer that I use. I just cooked a turkey this week, and I was able to poke it, and it would tell me what the inside temperature was electronically, and it uses a couple of AAA batteries. But this is something that's $100, but you can, there's an app, and it will talk to your app so you can look at your phone and know what the temperature of whatever you're cooking is. Now, this is the Ember Temperature Control Smart Cup. It sells for $100. Ron Brown bought one of these, and he's demonstrated it and shown it to us on Tech for Senior or Tech for Seniors, whichever one you choose. But anyway, Ron's got one of these, and he loves it. And this one, I thought about getting one of these. It's an Oster 2-slice toaster with a touch screen with 6 shade settings. The toaster features a digital countdown and lets you check the toast without interrupting the delicate toasting process. In other words, you can see it'll track on how much the toast is being toasted. It's like $40. And then there's the Rapid egg cooker from a company called Dash. If you ask your family what they want for breakfast and their response is 37 eggs, this 6-capacity egg cooker may be for you.
Huey, I have this, and let me tell you, it makes the best hard-boiled eggs. I mean, and then when you measure your little cup with you want soft-boiled or hard-boiled, and then it makes music when it's done. You can't beat it and you can't go wrong. I mean, it's an incredible, incredible way to make hard-boiled eggs.
It
I love
doesn't
it.
make it, doesn't make it any easier to peel them.
You know, you still have to crack them and put them in the cold water.
Okay. That's the hardest
It's
thing I have
fabulous.
with it. With hard-boiled eggs, I can never get it to work.
Well, you have
right.
to crack that shell as soon as you take them out and put it in ice water. And then they
Okay.
come off real easy. But it's a fabulous, fabulous way to make hard-boiled eggs.
If you
No, there's
if you use a teaspoon and put it between the shell and the egg, that works really well.
Okay. Now here's something that we all want. When you go to the bathroom, one, they have a Hum by Colgate Smart Electric Toothbrush Kit that will critique your brushing technique like your dentist, but without the dental school degree on the wall for $50. But there's also a toilet light with motion detection sensor. So if you want to feel like you're in a nightclub or are worried about peeing in the dark and missing, check this out. And then there's a water aerator water faucet that you can put on your water faucet. Now, I bought one of those similar to that goes on the kitchen sink that you can change where it's going. You can turn it up like that, or you can turn it down. You can raise it higher. So if you got bigger pans that don't fit underneath the water faucet, it will with this extension. And I bought one of those and I love it. So that's something similar. And then there's a SoundBot, water resistant Bluetooth shower. I don't stay in the shower long enough to worry about it, but I guess some people like to have music when they're in the shower rather than singing, I guess. I don't even do that, but it's water resistant and goes right in the shower. And then there's an automatic soap dispenser for less than $25. So these are gifts that you might suggest to people that you want or that you want to give to somebody. Now, here's some outside ideas. The Fitbit Inspire 2 health and fitness tracker for $60. And then there's a mini drone with a camera for $70, and I've seen another brand around $50. But you've got to, this one integrates with the VR glasses as well, but you also need to check in your area whether you can even fly a drone and what qualifications you need to do so. You may have certain restrictions on where you can fly it, or you may need a license even to fly one of these cheap ones. And I read there's an article out there somewhere that tells you not to buy the cheap ones. But if I was going to try using a drone, I'd buy a cheap one first, because I'd rather screw up and either lose or break a $70 or a $50 one than one that was $300 or $500 or more. And then there's a personal life straw. If you don't have access to clean water, if you do a lot of camping, hiking and so on, the life straw is an amazing tool to have handy. It will take any water and make it so it's drinkable. And then there's the Tiger Chef's S'mores Kit for $30. Whoever brings this overly elaborate hibachi marshmallow grill to camping will be elected king of the Lord of the Flies way. And then there's an LED flashlight. Flashlights are the paperweights of outdoor gifts, but if a friend is ever in an emergency and needs one, they'll owe you for life. And that's a win-win. So for $10, you can get an LED flashlight. Sometimes they're less, sometimes they're even giveaways at trade shows. And there's some fairly expensive ones that are really bright. And what about some tunes? Okay, there's a waterproof portable Bluetooth speaker that'll feature 12 hours of playtime when you're lost in the woods and need some music to match your growing panic. And then there's outdoor Bluetooth speakers with a flame effect. That's just what I need in my yard. The Alpine Bluetooth solar powered wireless rock speaker. It looks like a rock and it sits in your lawn, and it's wireless and it's solar powered. And then there's a portable Bluetooth speaker with double subwoofer heavy bass. And then there's a waterproof Bluetooth speaker as well. Now going to sleep. Lenovo smart clock, essential with Alexa built in. I'm sorry if I set off your Miss A. It's an alarm clock that lets you stream songs, listen to podcasts, and adjust the brightness, all to make sure you don't angrily hit it in the morning for about $35. Casper Sleep Glow Nightlight features a motion sensor that gradually increases blinding light when it detects movement from far away, so you can pee without turning the light on. The Bliss Lights Skylight Evolve LED Laser Star Projector. There's a lot of words. For those who want to feel like they're sleeping in a planetarium, though we already technically do, it's called Earth, but you know what I mean. And then the sunrise clock, an alarm clock with a sunrise that you can stare at without burning your corneas. And then there's a white noise machine. I've never tried one of these. I don't think it would work with me, but includes white noise, brown noise, pink noise, and blue noise. Pick whichever based of your favorite Reservoir Dogs character. And that's it for that list. There's plenty of other lists of items that you can purchase. You might want to look at them to get some gift ideas. The next article, things we never knew our microwave is capable of doing. Interesting article. You can disinfect your kitchen sponge. You can bring back to life some stale bread. It tells you how to do it. Create your own personal kiln. Crisp your chips in microwave. I do it with popcorn. I'll take yesterday's popcorn and I throw it in the microwave for 30 seconds and nice and warm. It's tasty. And you can peel tomatoes easily. Bring your dried mascara back to life. And so on. So an interesting article to read. And lastly, I saw this article, and it's a SpinLaunch just flung a camera towards space at 1,000+ miles per hour. An interesting article. It's time for us to wrap it up. Any other comments or before I close out the CFCS STUG Windows SIG and turn it into a CFCS main meeting? This has been the Central Florida Computer Society and Sarasota Technology User Group, or CFCS and STUG's Windows SIG, or WinSIG, for Sunday, December 11th, 2022.